Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Christmas edition of the full show review on the channel. Haven't done one of these in a long time. It's Christmas Day, so I am giving you my gift of a full show review. The show we're going to be reviewing is a Christmas edition, and I looked through every single Christmas show in WWE history. And if you look through all of them, all but one of them are like best of shows. There's a couple like really old shows with not much on them, but I did find that in 2017, WWE broadcast a full new show of Raw live that I was going to review for you guys today. There are a ton of matches on this show. I've looked at the guide already. I do not know the results of any of them. So I'm going to be popping back in as I watch the show, telling you how things go. And as I said earlier, Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you have a good time today with your families, your friends, whoever you're seeing. And if you're not with anybody, if you're unfortunately by yourself, I would like to wish you specifically a Merry Christmas. Just because you don't have a family to hang out with doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the spirit. Reach out to somebody, even if you haven't spoken to them in a while. It's always good to get out. And even if you can't do that, just try and find a way to enjoy yourself on this very merry day. But with all that being said, I'm going to get started watching this show, which opens with John Cena versus Elias. So I went through the match and I went through the surrounding promo of it, and I took a couple of notes that I'm going to go over. So it's not originally a match. John Cena just comes out to cut a promo, thank the crowd. Happy holidays, everybody. A very Cena promo. If you watch any Cena promo about him being happy for the crowd, just add some holiday spice, and that's exactly what this promo is. About halfway through it, Elias comes out and interrupts him and says that he's going to start singing a song, has a little bit of banter with Cena, and then he begins his music. But in the music, he makes fun of Chicago, and Cena says, no, cut the music, stop it. No, you're not going to do that. Chicago's a great place, so, no singing for you. Get out. But Elias says, okay, it's the holidays. I'm going to fix my song. I'm going to be nice to Chicago. And he is. He redoes his song, this time fixing what he said. He said, Chicago, I can't imagine a better place to be. Before he had said a worse place to be. And Cena's like, yay, let's go. And then he says, Cena, finish the song. So he keeps playing, and Cena says, oh, yay, Merry Christmas. And then he gets socked in the face. And then the match begins with Elias forcing a referee to come out and begin the match. It's a very Cena latter 2010s match. He gets beat down for like 90% of it and then comes back. This literally is any Cena match ever. He gets beaten up, tossed around, which is a little bit different. He slowly creeps his way back in every now and then. He locks in the STF a couple of times. Elias hits a crossroads for some reason. And then eventually he gets hit with the 5 moves of doom and Cena wins. Lol. Word life, bro. So it's fine. It's nothing special. It's been so long, just in case you are unaware, my listing goes from bad to poor to fine to good to great, and then in very rare cases it goes beyond that. But that's the ranking. So fine is right in the middle. It's just a match, nothing too special. You didn't miss much and you didn't gain much by watching it. Just whatever. And let's go, kids. Cena won on the holidays. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho. Nevertheless, we cut backstage for a Samoa Joe video package discussing all the people he's not impressed with, including all the members of The Shield, Jason Jordan, and a couple of other people he mentions by name. Speaking of Jason Jordan and members of The Shield, Jordan and Seth Rollins both appear to chat with Kurt Angle about having matches against Joe, who has beaten them up over the course of the past couple weeks. This is during the Jason Jordan and Kurt Angle father-son angle, which makes absolutely zero sense, but it happened, so it's on this show. Neither of them get their match with Joe, but they are in a tag team match against The Bar for the Raw tag titles later on in the night. Once they leave, Roman Reigns comes in, who is also beaten up by Samoa Joe many a time, and asks, well, he doesn't even say anything. He just walks in, and Kurt Angle says, you have a match with Samoa Joe. I don't think he says a single word in the entire segment. He just goes, and then it's a title match for the IC belt, which will, of course, go on later in the night. And Kurt Angle is like, yay, I set up all these matches. Hoorah, Merry Christmas, guys. And then we cut back to the arena. That's where I'm at for the moment. Overall, it's been an okay show so far, nothing out of the ordinary, and a pretty interesting one, setting up some matches later on in the night. As I said, nothing crazy, but we will see where it develops from here. Hey, Roman, welcome to my office. So you were looking for a match with Samoa Joe? Okay. So did you want that tonight, or did you want it next week? I need some responses. I can't just go off of nothing. I need you to say a word, at least one. Tonight. Then go every match, man. I don't even know. Just next up on the slate was Brian Kendrick versus Hideo Itami. This was Itami's debut singles match on Raw. He had debuted as a whole the prior week, and Kendrick comes out and mocks Hideo beforehand, discussing, "Oh, he's nothing. He's little. His strikes mean nothing." Before Hideo himself comes out and beats the crap out of Kendrick with some kicks and some strikes to his torso. They are loud. That is assisted by the fact that the crowd is dead for this match. I gave this a good because the match itself is good, but the crowd makes zero noise throughout the entire match. You can hear them bantering to each other, like Kendrick and Itami. You can hear them like chattering. You can hear the as they smack each other on the back and they land on the mat. You can hear everything. Eventually, Itami is beating the crap out of Kendrick so much that his friend, Gentleman Jack Gallagher, comes out, distracts Itami. That allows Kendrick to take an advantage before eventually Itami is able to pull off the GTS and sock Kendrick right in the nose and ends up picking up the W. It's a pretty good match. Kendrick sells really well, makes Itami look good, and that's great and all, but the crowd is just awful, 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 awful for the entire thing. Then we got to a bit of a recap discussing how the prior week Stephanie McMahon had announced the Women's Royal Rumble for the first time. Hooray! That's really all there is. But after that, we get a pretty funny segment involving the Miz Taraj. The Miz is off filming the Marine 6 at the time when this came out. So Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel come out and find Bayley, Sasha Banks, and Mickie James and sing a carol about what they're going to do for the Miz while he's been gone. Talking about, ho, 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 we're going to sing this carol about the Mr. Raj. La, 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 la. It's complete nonsense, but it's pretty funny, so whatever. Anyways, Bayley, Sasha, and Mickie are all on their way to a match, which they're going to have with Absolution, the stable consisting of Paige, Sonya Deville, and Mandy Rose. It's a pretty good match. I wasn't sure if I wanted to give it good or fine. I gave it good for the benefit of the doubt, but you could flip it either way, and I wouldn't be angry. It's none of the other options, though. It's definitely not poor, and it's definitely not incredible. But all 6 women show out, especially Sasha and Sonya Deville. Sonya Deville flattens Sasha with a clothesline about halfway through this match. It is a hard clothesline on the outside. It looks great and all, but it came out of nowhere because they were like lightly brawling, went to the outside, wham! It was really fun to see. Otherwise, it's pretty basic. Sasha gets beat up throughout like the entire match until Bayley gets a hot tag, is about to beat Paige with the Bayley to belly, but Paige is saved by her allies who get attacked by Mickie and Sasha. Bayley goes in to try and finish Paige off, gets hit with what's called the Rampage, but if you don't know what that is, it's basically Ridge Holland's like DDT finisher that he does now. It's that move. And that ends up picking up the win for Absolution, who are apparently on a tear at this time and are winning a lot of matches on Raw. So good for them, I guess. As I said, good match and a pretty good way to keep going with the show. Then we get a Dean Ambrose injury recap akin to the Women's Rumble promo, again from last week. It shows how he was hurt. Seth Rollins was diving. He hit Dean, made him fall to the ground, hurt him more, and then Samoa Joe, along with the bar, came, attacked him, and smashed it in a case, and Ambrose could be out for anywhere up to 9 months, according to Michael Cole. It's probably not going to be true. I can check Cage Match, but I'm not bothering with all that effort. This is a 2.5-hour show. I'm not taking all that time. Nevertheless, we go to a Samoa Joe promo backstage with Renee Dupree. Renee, whatever her name is, that one, and the one in AEW now. And Joe's asked whether or not he regrets what he did, and he says, hell no, that was deserved, and it was good, because now Dean can hang out with his family. Radical, dude. He also discusses how he's going to beat Roman Reigns up and win the IC title later on in the night. So far, the show has continued to be relatively good to fine. Definitely the 2 best matches so far. Cena and Elias was just whatever, but these have definitely picked up the pace a bit. Hideo and Bryan was a good match. Bad crowd, and the bad crowd has kind of reared its ugly head every now and then, but hopefully they can improve throughout the show, especially when we get to the 2 title matches later on in the night. So we continue on with the show with Kane versus Heath Slater and Kurt Hawkins versus Finn Balor. Now, these 2 matches are both squash matches, so I'm going to kind of mold them into one. So Slater was put up in this match by teammate Rhino in an attempt to toughen him up. Slater does not get toughened up. He gets beat up during this match. But there is a pretty funny moment a little bit early on. So Slater gets beat up, but he's not beat up to the point where he's like knocked out yet. So he rolls out to the ring, looks at Rhino, and is like, dude, what are you doing? And then Rhino says, come on, man, get in there, beat him up. And Slater says, and I quote, dude, I'm trying my best. It's Kane. And then eventually he makes his way back in the ring. He gets a slight advantage on Kane, hangs him up on the ropes, tries to go in, hits a couple of strikes, then gets hit with a sick uppercut and choke slam, finishes him off, and then Kane wins the match. He also does the same thing to Rhino a little bit later on, and then he leaves. This is right before Kane goes into a world title match at the Royal Rumble, so it's not surprising that they paint him in such a good light here. Then with Hawkins and Balor, Hawkins opens with a promo discussing how maybe there's a Christmas miracle in store, as he has not had a very good 2017, losing 146 matches in a row. I made a video on his losing streak a very long time ago, if you want to check that out. Linked up here. But he leaves an open challenge for whoever wishes to answer, and he gets, obviously, the easiest opponent he would have gotten, Finn Balor, who beats him in literally 90 seconds. That's how Kurt Hawkins was doing in 2017. But during the match, there's another funny line. Corey Graves is on commentary, and he calls Hawkins the Browns of the WWE, like the Cleveland Browns. This is right after they went 0-16, but the new season had already began at this point, and then Michael Cole responds by saying, well, now at least the Browns won a game this year, which is absolute shenanigans, but pretty funny nonetheless. We got another Miz Taraj segment, this time with Goldust, with a carol about Miz's movie Santa's Little Helper, which they gift to Goldust. And then right after they leave, Titus O'Neil walks in, Goldust gives it to Titus, and then runs off. It then scares Titus, and Titus launches it backwards behind his head, but more utter nonsense behind the scenes. Then we get a Bray Wyatt video package and appearance in the ring. He describes how Christmas's nonsense of gifting and ritual are akin to Matt Hardy. And then Bray makes his way to the ring before Hardy jumps him. And then Hardy gets on the mic and he makes literally just guttural noises for a minute until it says, woken, and then it cuts backstage. It's the weirdest segment I think I've ever seen. I don't even know what to say. You see, Matt Hardy is a bad man, and this Christmas spirit, with all of its old rituals and its gifting between families, is so symbolic of how Matt teaches his little woken children. All of his words should not be taken into account. All that he says is not true. Please, men, do not listen to him. Listen to me. Bray Wyatt, Chicago. I am here. Bah! Yeah! Yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, oh. Why am I doing it like this? I'm very sorry about those noises, but that is exactly what it sounded like. I needed to explain it the best that I possibly could. That is exactly how he sounded. Just watch it for yourself, being honest. Nevertheless, we move on to one more backstage segment where Sheamus gives Cesaro a present, which is a Dean Ambrose figure missing an arm, obviously representing the injury they gave him. And then Cesaro gives Sheamus two presents with a Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan figure, both of which are just unharmed. And Sheamus is like, oh, Seth Rollins, that's very funny. It gets very serious when Jason Jordan's figure comes out. He's like, I don't want this. Why would you give this to me? And then Cesaro says two words. He's like, okay, ding, Merry Christmas. And then they just mock all the guys behind the figures and leave. It's just another weird segment in this show filled with weird backstage segments. But that's as far as I've gotten for the moment. So let me move on to the next segment. Oh, thanks for the present, man. Let's see what you got me. Oh, Junkrat, I love this character. Oh, he's my favorite character in Overwatch. Oh, look at all those details. What you see, he's got, even his little grenades in it. That's awesome, man. Thanks. Oh, there's more? Oh, let me look. Where should I put this? Here, hold this for a second. All right, thanks. Okay. What is this? Why is this in the box? You know how I feel about this character. You know what I think about him. Why would you give that to me as a present? Why? Damn it! Why? Oh, I can destroy it? Oh, you're right. That's sick. Dap me up. Let's go. Merry Christmas, bro. We move on from that segment with a six-man tag team Miracle on 34th Street fight between Cruiserweight champion Enzo Amore, Drew Gulak, and Arya Davari versus Cedric Alexander. His opponent next week for the title, Mustafa Ali and Akira Tozawa. This is probably the best match we've had so far, and it's not like it's a technical masterclass or anything like that, but it's really fun. It's a lot of nonsense. It's exactly what you would expect on a Christmas show, or if you look at more recent episodes of Raw and SmackDown, the show that is close to Christmas, like the fun, exhilarating street fight they have between some of the flippier guys who can do some nonsense and have some fun with it. That's exactly what happens here. Enzo comes out after all the baby faces have come out during the commercial break. Comes out dressed as Santa, does his little classic promo. Both of his other guys are dressed like elves, which is pretty funny. It's none of the other people in the match are dressed up at all. It's just them, which makes it 8 times funnier than it in any way would be. But as the match begins, there are a bunch of like Christmassy weapons that are used. You got your presents, and then the most important one, a Christmas tree. There's a spot that made me like, ugh. So Akira Tozawa is getting thrown into the corner where there is a Christmas tree that he goes just back first straight into, and it's one of the, ugh. It was a really like it looked like it would be really, really uncomfortable because I know what it's like to like fall into a Christmas tree. Because when we go Christmas tree shopping, I've like leaned on the tree before and I'm like, ooh, that's kind of uncomfortable. But like going full throttle back first into one, that's just got to be really, really painful. And there were ornaments on it too. It was probably gimmicked in some way, but either way, looked really painful. And Daivari and Ali have a really nice little sequence where Daivari tosses Ali into the corner. Ali slides down, pops his way between the ropes, delivers a very nice kick to Daivari's face, and then he like flips over, throws him into the corner. It's absolute nonsense, but it's really, really cool. And eventually, Cedric Alexander ends up winning the match for his team with a lumbar check. After only 8 minutes of action, it was really well paced, very fast, and was never like slowed down or boring. Probably the best match on the show so far, as I've said. Good job to everybody involved, even though two of them aren't some of the best people out there. Then after the match, there is a little ad break, and then after that, we come back and we see Enzo making his way to the locker room where Nia Jax is waiting in the wings, just like, "How you doing?" And they both give each other a "How you doing?" before Enzo and Nia both look up and see a little mistletoe hanging right above them. They're like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then they're about to kiss each other before Alexa Bliss runs in, stops and like, "Oh, Nia, I need to ask you about the Women's Royal Rumble. Let's go, let's go," and drags her along. And Enzo's like, "Man, dang it. Merry Christmas to you too." It's, again, absolute nonsense, but really, really funny. Continuing the theme of weird backstage promos on this show. Speaking of backstage promos, we head to a Roman Reigns one, which is not all too weird. It's just what you would expect out of Reigns in 2017. He's like, "Hey, I'm going to send a message to Samoa Joe. If you beat up my family, I'm going to beat you up too. You beat up my bro, I'm going to beat you up. Shield." It's just a Roman promo. It's nothing too special. That match is immediately coming out, and Joe comes out to his banger theme song. It's not very important, but I just would love to mention how good a theme song that song was. Like, it's a bop. Every time I hear it, it's just, I got to do a little boogie every time I hear it. Nevertheless, the Reigns comes out really hot out of the gate, just dominating Joe for no reason. But eventually, Joe begins like a slower beatdown. This match is akin to the Cena match from the very beginning of this video, where Reigns gets beat down for a while, and then he makes his comeback with a couple of big moves here and there, and eventually does his finishing sequence to win the match. But the ending is not the same. After a while where they hit big moves, and then Joe hits a Coquina clutch for like 45 seconds that Reigns does somehow escape, Reigns gets disqualified for just beating up Joe in the corner. And he's like, "Ref, get out of the way." And then he gets DQ'd, and then the match ends. It's a really flat finish. It's still a good match, but it's just a flat finish, and it's not very interesting. He does beat Joe up after the fact. He hits him with the steel steps twice and tries to like kill him with a chair. Like he's attacking the shoulder, and Joe's like resting on the post, and then he just swings full metal at the post and nearly kills Joe's arm. So the referees are able to break him up, take the chair away, all that. But it's like, oh, okay, that was interesting. That was fun. And then as the show is progressing, it kind of pans out to show that Seth Rollins is backstage watching the show. And he's like, "Oh, awesome. Good job, Roman. Hey, a win is a win. You beat up Joe. Nice job." And Jason Jordan comes in, and the two of them do not like each other at all. And Jason Jordan's like, "Hey, later on, We're gonna do well. We have our differences, but we're gonna work together, right?" And then Seth is like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll work together." And then Jason makes the mistake of saying, "Huh, I'm gonna be a good replacement for Dean Ambrose, right?" And Rollins says, like, "Hell no, you are never gonna be Dean Ambrose, bud." And then Jason retorts with the crazy line of, "Yeah, I'm gonna be better," and then leaves. Like, knowing now, like 8 years later, what actually happened for each guy, I don't know about that, Chief. But nevertheless, next matchup on the show is going to be a 2-on-1 handicap match that I have yet to watch. We'll see how that goes in a moment, but I have not watched it. So now this guy has. Yes, I have, and I must say, it was fine. It wasn't anything too special. I gave it a good because it's just a squash match, and it was enough shenanigans for me. Miztourage come out and try to sing another carol. Like the first and second time, it was a little fun, but the third time is too much. I've seen enough Miztourage on this show. And it might be because I'm going crazy because of how many backstage segments there have been and how many matches there have been. But either way, too many. Braun Strowman comes out for this Secret Santa match, which obviously he kills both members. Bo Dallas goes instantly, and then Curtis Axel goes right after that. Braun wins in literally 60 seconds. Like, it takes him 1 minute to win, and then he power slams the men in the match a combined 4 times. Like, one of those was actually during the match. Like, I don't think he liked them too much, so yeah, he kills the Miztourage. After that, we see Alexa Bliss come out. She explains how well 2017 has gone for her. And she says that the upcoming Women's Royal Rumble is her fault. Because of her success, it's put women to that point. She's interrupted by Asuka, who is undefeated at this point. That would have come to an end at 2018 against Charlotte Flair. But she's still undefeated at this point. They mention it on commentary a lot. And she announces that she's entering the Women's Rumble, stares at Alexa like a little too intensely, and then knocks her out. Like, she comes out, "I am entering the Women's Royal Rumble." And then hits her with a kick and knocks her out. Like, it's a little silly, but it's fun enough for me. Then we have the main event of the show. Finally, the show felt like it took me like 7 hours to watch. Nevertheless, it's Seth Rollins and Jason Jordan versus The Bar for the Raw Tag Team titles. It's fine. I don't think it's particularly good. It has good moments in it, but it's a little bit long, and then it's got a lot of genericness about it. It's a very stereotypical match. So, nevertheless, let me explain a little bit about it. So, Rollins starts off hot as the first man in, and then he and Jason Jordan appear to be working on the same page. After the commercial break, we see that Rollins is being worked over by The Bar, who work him over for like the whole match. It's like 80% of the match until the hot tag is just Rollins like, "Oh, I'm in a headlock. I got my arm worked behind me." It's just really stereotypical. And they're waiting for the hot tag, waiting for the hot tag, waiting for the hot tag. Then finally, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to tag him." They take Jason out, and then he can't tag him. So then Seth gets beat up a lot more. Jason has made his way back. Seth fights his way out. Tag, Jason's in. He comes in. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to beat up Sheamus." Boom, boom, boom. And then, just like Sasha Banks before him, gets cleaned out by a clothesline. And then gets put in the sharpshooter. Like, he gets flattened by this thing. Like, what is it with big clotheslines on this show? I don't know. But nevertheless, he gets hit by that. He escapes the sharpshooter. He escapes the clothing relief a little bit after that. And then Rollins, right before they're about to hit a big double team move, Rollins like distracts The Bar, and both members go and chase him. And he throws Sheamus into the steps, but Cesaro hits him with like a big uppercut. He's like, "Okay, come on, Sheamus, back in the ring. Let's go, let's go." Cesaro slides his way into the ring, right into Jason Jordan's finisher. I don't know what it is. It's like, he like brings him up in like F5 position and then brings him down for like an RKO. I think it's called a TKO. Nevertheless, that move, that wins the match for them, and they are the new Raw Tag Team Champions. As I said, it's a fine match. It's very basic, so I can't give it anything more than a fine, but it was a good way to end the show on a good mood with a title change on Christmas Day. So if we look at the whole show as a whole, I will say it was a good show. There wasn't anything bad on it. There were a little too many backstage segments. Like go through, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 different segments that are not matches, either backstage or on screen. Or like in the ring. Like that's too much. That's too many backstage and in the ring segments. Maybe like 10, but And I didn't even bring up the video packages that they would show 4 times in the show. Like they showed the Dean Ambrose getting beat up backstage thing like 4 times. Like it started to get annoying up to a point. Nevertheless, it was still a pretty good show. Maybe not, a happy holidays, Christmas worthy show, but it was fun enough for what it was. If we got this show nowadays, I'm sure it would be good and well received. I don't think it's anything special, nothing you should really seek out, other than that high flying Enzo Amore and Cedric Alexander match. That was pretty fun, and it's really short. So if you want to watch anything from the show, I recommend that you watch that. Otherwise, it was good here and there, whatever. So make sure you have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, whatever. Make sure you have a very Merry Christmas. I will see you later on this week. I don't know when it's going to be. Maybe next week, depending on whether or not I make a video before I go to Michigan. Make sure you have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, whatever. I understand that I just said that. I wrote my list and I read it twice. That was really funny. It really wasn't. Don't dislike the video. Merry Christmas to you all, or whatever holidays you celebrate, and goodbye.